If I was just to sit at home and read internet comments all day, which I try not to do anymore, you'd have a really bleak view of humanity and of people and of how cynical everyone is and how there's not enough love in the world. That led me to think maybe there's nothing really I can do creatively to make money. I need to kind of get a job. So I ended up kind of in a call center and then ended up working in IT and then kind of getting promoted within the IT world to a job that I hated. But I was always fairly good with people. The enthusiasm, people could, I think, see that I really was excited to shoot it. It wasn't just like, yeah, I can shoot a wedding. I've done this a million times. It's like, I would love to shoot your wedding, please. And very quickly it snowballed. I went from 2 weddings the first year to 36 the second year. So quite quickly it was like, right, okay, I can do this. But I have no issue putting the phone up to my face and going, this one time on honeymoon, I had really bad hemorrhoids. And I had to explain to the pharmacist in Thailand that I needed hemorrhoid cream, but there was no English, so I had to do it through mime. And it was difficult or whatever. And people would engage with that. Or I had a vasectomy. And I straight away, like post-vasectomy, was like, hey guys, guess what I just did? But people will be like, brides who have been trying to convince their partner to get a vasectomy or whatever it is, they're like, thank you so much for talking about this. We love this. So the biggest risk I've taken in terms of my career was just at the start. It was just starting. It was just going out there and saying, well, I bought the camera now. It costs loads and the lens, and I better do something with it. Maybe I can book a few jobs. I am John Gillooley. I am a wedding photographer based in Dublin. Everyone is interesting. Everyone has their quirks. And I mean, I suppose what I'm looking for in terms of what would excite me if I'm shooting a wedding would be someone who's got a bit of personality, a bit of crack, a bit of life to them. But a wedding is, everyone is entitled to get married and have a nice photos. And for me, it's a great challenge. So I photograph all types of people, all types of personalities. And it's actually a really interesting challenge. Literally, like the weddings I shot just this weekend gone, I had a wedding on Saturday and the bride was just unbelievable crack. And she was full on and was open mouth, massive laughs and smile the whole day. I had to kind of keep up with her. It was like, will we do this? Let's go into the veil. Can I run? Can I do, it was the whole day was like that. And then on Monday, it was the stark contrast where a really, really beautiful, quiet, introverted bride, who I more so had to kind of not tiptoe around, but be very delicate with to say, would it be okay? What I'm thinking we might do a little shot here if you're comfortable with that. And it was much more that, it was much more led. But both are really good challenges, and and both will lead to completely different kind of types of photos to agree, but I'm hoping both will be authentic to those people as well. It's an interesting one. Like I would say before I was photographing weddings, I would have been a bit more cynical about people. I suffer from social anxiety in my 20s and early 30s. I would struggle with buying a Twix in a shop. I'd be like, I'm going to say the wrong thing. I don't know, I'd often kind of feel that people were looking for something wrong with me, or that there was, so the more I shot weddings, the more I realized that most people are sound, and there's a lot of love in a lot of families, and there's a lot of respect, and people respect what you do. And it was wonderfully reassuring. Like if I was just to sit at home and read internet comments all day, which I try not to do anymore, you'd have a really bleak view of humanity and of people and of how cynical everyone is and how there's not enough love in the world. But it obviously helps that you're with them on one of the best days of their lives often, that you can just see like a lot of love. And I think most people are sound. I was always creative growing up. I used to make little movies with a camcorder, to be very in right now, but then it was just the current technology of the hi-8 camcorder. I was massively into movies in particular. My granddad was a photographer, my uncle was a photographer, but what interested me the most when I was young was film and movies and comedy. and like my first gig was a comedy gig, so all sorts of creative things. And then I got massively into music as well. And I went to college doing media production and looking into kind of getting into filmmaking. At the end of that, I directed a short film and I wrote the music for it, like a kind of a score. And that was my favorite part of the whole process. And then I kind of tangentially went, oh, I think I want to write music for films. And I did that, and I did a few short films. I ended up doing an Irish feature, like a micro-budget feature that was a zombie film called Dead Meat, which is kind of cool. I played 2 zombies in it. One I called the Robert Smith zombie, and one I called the Nick Cave zombie, just based on their hair in both cases. And but also wrote the music, which is not an incredible score, and but it was an interesting project. And then I did a few more short films after that, and quickly realized that I wasn't going to be able to make a living from it, as fun as it was, not with the drive that I had. And I also had massive kind of issues with my own kind of confidence about it, because it was like, I'm not that good at this, maybe I shouldn't do it. And then kind of, that led me to think maybe there's nothing really I can do creatively to make money. I need to kind of get a job. So I ended up kind of in a call center, and then ended up working in IT, and then kind of getting promoted within the IT world to a job that I hated. But I was always fairly good with people, so I got on with clients and everything else, which meant I had client-facing roles. But in technical jobs, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So I hated those jobs, and always still into photography. Always would bring a camera to friends' weddings and all that kind of thing. And it was only then when again, I didn't enjoy my job, and we were expecting our first baby, myself, my wife, Anne-Marie. Unfortunately, at the end of the pregnancy, we lost our first son, Max. And obviously that rocked our world. And literally a few weeks after that happened, I got made redundant from the IT job that I had, which was actually amazing. Like the best thing that could have happened at that time, because I didn't have to worry about the job. There was a severance package that made we were comfortable for a year or so, and it meant we could have a bit of peace of mind and headspace, which was obviously rare, given what we were going through, to not have to worry about going to a job that I didn't enjoy. But it also kind of made us both, I think, fearless to some degree in terms of being bulletproof. Of we just didn't care. Like one of the worst things that could have ever happened to us has happened to us, and we weren't getting through it, but we were just kind of taking it day by day, and gave us time to think about what we're doing with our lives. You know, and Anne-Marie was always saying to me that I should become a professional photographer. I was doing it for fun, and I was good enough, but I didn't think I was good enough. And I had every excuse not to do it in the world. It was like, I don't have a professional camera, I don't have this. And one day we were out having lunch. Literally, I think it would have been maybe March or April, and Max passed away in January. And it was like, let's go off to a camera shop and buy a camera, a professional camera, and a really good lens, and just start asking people if we can take their photos. And then that's what we did. And and unbelievably, we were doing things like, and this was Anne-Marie was shooting with me as well. And we were like literally doing newborn shoots and everything, like months after we lost our son. So at the time, looking back at it now, it's insane that we were able to do it. But for me, the camera was a bit of a shield. It was literally like armor that I could put on, sometimes literally put in front of my face, and really throw myself into something that would be, I guess, a distraction, but also just a wonderful kind of way to be creative at a really difficult time. And then it was only when I was at a stag party for a friend of mine. It was like 2 a.m. and around a campfire, and we were chatting about his wedding, which is coming up like maybe a month and a half later. And I was asking him if because I was into wedding photography, followed it and stuff, and I was like, who's going to be shooting your wedding? And he was like, well, no one's going to be. We're hoping people like you will just bring your camera and get pictures. And I was like, well, can I do that? Like, do you mind if I kind of shoot your wedding, like as if you had hired me, but obviously for free? It'd be really cool. And also what I was thinking as well, that was the first big social event. That would have been July after the January. So the first big social event with all of our friends there, where you're meant to be celebrating, having an amazing time, but we were still in this incredible place of grief. So having, again, the mask of the camera for both myself and Anne-Marie was like just a gift. And that particular bride was amazing. So Yvonne, our first ever bride and a friend of ours, we had a thing for Max's name. We just want to say the name all the time and write his name everywhere we go away, and we write his name and take a beautiful picture. And she put his name in her wedding bouquet and showed it to us before ceremony. And it was like, we just knew that we were in a really safe, wonderful, getting literally chillblains. But it was just wonderful. So it was an amazing experience. I still love the pictures from that wedding. They're still quite similar to what I shoot now. Got lots of stuff wrong, but the couple loved their pictures, and the feedback from the photos were, we love them. And if the house is on fire, we go out and take our wedding album and stuff, which I was saying is ridiculous because it was a very cheap album and I have the digital files. So I could just give you a new album. Don't burn your house down. But I'd never, in the IT job, had this wonderful, warm, these mean everything to us, and we're going to look at these in 50 years and all these kind of things. But also, very quickly, I just like, I want to do this and absolutely nothing else. I don't want to do any other kind of photography even. I just want to zone into weddings. And because we had the comfort of what happened with my old job in terms of financially, I was able to just try and book weddings. And it was 6 months till the next wedding. I would meet couples in town and just bluff and blag and just say, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. That's no problem. I've shot there before and I haven't shot there before. And started booking weddings. And I think a combination of the photos I was putting up, which I was lucky were quite good. And I think VIP shared the first wedding and all this kind of stuff. And the enthusiasm, people could, I think, see that I really was excited to shoot it. It wasn't just like, yeah, I can shoot a wedding. I've done this a million times. It's like, I would love to shoot your wedding, please. And very quickly it snowballed. I went from 2 weddings the first year to 36 the second year. So quite quickly it was like, right, okay, we can do this. And running a creative business is harder than taking great photos. Taking great photos is a combination, I think, of skill, but also luck. Like the best pictures I've ever taken have either been, I've been lucky because of the light, I've been lucky to be in the right place at the right time, and I've been lucky with just the thing that has happened, especially at weddings, because mostly the best shots aren't the ones that are planned or sent to you on Pinterest before, but they're like someone just does something crazy or someone falls or whatever, and it just happens to be this brilliant picture. That to me is a great photo is something that has a life as well. So it's like a photographer once, I was John Dolan, I think I saw him at a workshop, and a photo has a life. And if you take an amazing silhouette shot in the sunset, the first time you see it, you say, wow, it's amazing. And then the second time you see it, you say, wow, that was really cool. And then over time, it's like, yeah, cool. But a picture you might have with a grandparent or whatever it might be, that's just a tender moment. It's like, oh, that's lovely that they got to show my granddad. And then 5 years later, that's hanging in your house and you see it every single day and you think of it. When you think of that person, you think of that picture. When I have pictures for me, that picture people have taken even at my wedding or my dad or Anne-Marie's dad, when I think of these people, I kind of, even though I've got a billion memories, I think that's the image that kind of comes into my brain. So there's a lot of luck in a great photo. You know, you could look up YouTube video about how to work the camera from to a wedding and maybe take a great shot. Whereas I think running a creative business is a whole other thing and a whole other head you have to put on, and I don't think I particularly have mastered that in terms of business acumen, but I think it's enthusiasm and skill have helped me along and the odd bit of luck and stuff. But yeah, I don't think that's something I could even talk about. I mean, one interesting thing, I suppose, is I would have had maybe preconceptions about people based on appearance and based on first impressions or a Zoom call, whatever it is, about how they might feel about being in front of the camera. But it's really interesting is, you know, confidence doesn't always seem to be linked to aesthetics or appearances or cosmetics or whatever it happens to be. Whereas quite often the most kind of self-conscious couples, men and women, have been someone I would have thought like, oh, they'll probably be a model in their spare time, or, you know, and they're maybe more worried and less natural in front of the camera because maybe they've been told a million times that they're stunning and they have a lot to live up to. I don't know. Whereas to me, it's often just the more relaxed, kind of happy people that will kind of shine in front of a camera. And like, it's funny, a lot of the stuff that I put online will be kind of people laughing their heads off and just being the happiest they've ever been, because that's what sparks my joy. And I've had like pre-wedding calls or pre-booking calls with couples who have like, well, the only thing about is your work is everyone seems to be really confident and happy and all that, but we're really quiet and we don't necessarily laugh that much or whatever, and is that going to be an issue? And it's like, no, it's I'm really interested in different personality types and also not just the couple. So when you go and shoot a wedding, you know, the couple are your focus for parts of the day and they're your focus up to the wedding and everything, but there might be 150 people there and everyone there has been invited for a reason. And there's lots of different personalities, and you're dealing. I have a question on my forum that is there any sensitive issues, and often it'll come up where there's divorce or there's mixed families or there's obviously, people who have passed away and they won't be there, and that'll be a sensitive topic on the day, and how people react to that on the day is kind of challenging. But it's kind of my job to be able to kind of move through all that and capture it with as much kind of grace as possible. And I feel that I'm quite, I guess, again, I've led a life myself. I've been through a fair bit, like in terms of like both my parents passed away, and as I mentioned with Max, is I'm quite open to, I'm quite sensitive on the day emotionally to be able to kind of navigate those kind of more anxious moments with couples. I kind of find that I do quite well when I have an anxious bride or an anxious groom, and I quite enjoy getting into that mode of, and the stuff I put online is funny because I'm often just shading my head off and kind of being ridiculous, but it's sometimes the job is more so just bringing everything really down and asking people to leave and just like, we're going to have a moment here, and if you need a moment yourself, we can do that, but this is going to be fine, it's going to be great, don't worry about this ridiculous thing that's just happened, something's on fire in the background or whatever, just don't, we can use that for a photo maybe, but everything's going to be okay. Oh, I mean, there's so many. But one that always kind of sticks out, I mean, it's funny, like the first year that I did it, the first proper year, the first year of full weddings was 2016. I could, like, in chronological order, tell you all the couples' names and the months and the venues and everything else. And that gets more difficult as time goes on. But the first year was so intense because there was a lot of, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's happening and I can't mess this up because, it's a wedding, it's whatever. And thankfully, touch wood and everything else, I didn't. But everything is kind of seared extra, everything is kind of burnt in extra strong, I guess, into my memories. But there was one in particular, it was probably in the second half of the year I was shooting weddings. We were in a venue, we were walking down in the gardens with Aoife and John in Castle Duro, and there was a chainsaw sitting there. I guess someone had left it out, they were doing some chainsaw work. I don't know much what people do with chainsaws, other than what I've seen in cinema. But for some reason, the bride was like, hey, will I pick it up? And I think the videographer was like, no. And I was like, shh, pick it up, pick up the chainsaw. This is going to be fun. Didn't turn it on. I should point that out. I don't know why I shouted there, sorry. Didn't turn on the chainsaw, but just lifted it up and like posed with the chainsaw. And I was like, oh yeah, just do that. And I didn't like make her do anything. I wasn't like, let's do something interesting with the chainsaw. Let's, what if you're really menacing or whatever. But she just had this big smile. So basically a joyful bride holding a chainsaw, and the juxtaposition of that, I was like, this is probably going to be one of my favorite pictures ever. And there's nothing special about the picture other than the bride is holding a chainsaw, and it just seems strange. But I just knew that was what I wanted to put up online. And that was literally the front cover then on my website, with no other pictures, just that one for about a year. And that's what I wanted people to see and go, oh, okay, what's this and why? And there's so many kind of cliches, I guess, in wedding photography and kind of things that you imagine have to be done, and cake cutting and veil tosses and all these kind of things, which can be fun and fine. But I just love when just random things happen at weddings and I'm there for it. And it was never anything like on the pre-wedding call, it was like, no, if you see a chainsaw, it might be nice to pick it up, and that'd be good to have that in the future for your kids and all, it was, and after she put it out, she goes, John, what am I going to do with those photos? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to have fun with them. Yeah. I've never lost my love of photography. I've always loved photography, but what tends to happen like pretty much every year is when, so weddings, at least for me, tend to be quite, they're very unbalanced. So in terms of when they occur. So wedding season will be kind of May till December, sometimes April, but May till December tends to be bonkers. And then January to April tend to be quite quiet. So January to April, I'm like constantly looking up like lens reviews and what else could I do differently? What could be kind of a different thing I could do when wedding season kicks off? And I'm buying cameras and I'm messing around with film or manual focus cameras, and I'm taking these great pictures of the kids at the worst time of year, like a terrible light in March and February, but kind of just being really obsessive about it and loving that process. And I'm constantly on like WhatsApp chats to like other photographers going, what do you think about this lens? And we're all just like proper geeks about it. And then once wedding season kicks off, that noise tends to kind of go down a little bit. And then once it gets to the point where you're shooting 2 or 3 weddings a week, and then you're editing constantly, you kind of don't feel like picking up the camera for your own use, because you need to save everything for the couples almost. Not exclusively, sometimes I will randomly, like, and then get really into it. It's like, oh, I am doing this more often, like this gorgeous light at home in the evenings, and I'm not picking up the Leica or whatever. But yeah, without fail, you tend to, and it's not really burnout. I know some photographers get burnout, because I'm not feeling it on the job at all. Still loving it, but it's just, I suppose you fall out of love with the camera maybe a little bit when it gets super busy. What's something I wish more creatives understood about success? That's a tough one. So I always feel my success has been really, well, it's unplanned, if you can call it success, or it's snowballed, and I've kept the energy and the drive up, and I don't want to do any other job, and I kind of can't do any other job. Maybe if I had the time I could, but I'd love to be like a piano player in a hotel bar. I don't know what the tips would be like, but I don't want to stop doing it. And I came to it really late. So I was 36 when I shot my first proper wedding, and I'm 47 now, and I still feel like I'm young in terms of the wedding. I know I'm not, this isn't 4K, but young in terms of the wedding photography world, and I just absolutely don't want to do it. So I think my success is, there's a drive there in terms of I love doing it every year more, and I find it easier every year. Any anxieties I would have in terms of weddings, they haven't gone away, because I think it's important to recognize how important the day is, and how you don't want to, it's, for the most part, it might be my 374th wedding I've shot, but it's this person's first, maybe second wedding, and it's important. And I see people, like, sometimes I'll see a videographer who I haven't worked with, and they're kind of phoning it in, and they're just like, yeah, we'll do this, and I'm gonna have coffee now and sit down for an hour because I've got what I need. And it's like, well, the couple, you're not getting that. Like, that's amazing over there, and I kind of feel frustrated for the couple sometimes. So I will, this sounds like promo, but it's genuinely not. Like, there's a couple of reasons I do it, but I shoot constantly. I'm always thinking I haven't got the best shot of the day. I'm always thinking there could be an issue. Something can happen where the couple might be disappointed with something, but at least I can show that I really worked tirelessly. And I think that's a big thing. And then I think the other thing, in terms of what some creatives maybe don't do enough, is just putting themselves out there. So whenever Instagram stories, I think, what was it, Snapchat first, but whenever Instagram stories kind of started, whenever they're made available on Instagram, I kind of jumped on them pretty quick and found them a fun way to engage with people. And quite quickly, I found for me that what people engaged with more than just putting up a wedding photo or talking about a wedding was me just talking about ridiculous things that are happening in my lives. And the more open I was about certain things, the more people seemed to appreciate it. And the more I'd find, I'd come to a wedding and the mother of the bride follows me, and she's like, oh, that was so funny, this particular thing. And I was like, oh, this is actually really, really helping me. But the big thing I found was, because I always thought of Instagram stories as they're temporary, they're just going to disappear after 24 hours. Don't put too much thought into them. Just say whatever you want, and you can delete them if you want to. And I found that approach works, because there's a billion videos I wanted to create, like in a setup like this, where like I must get from good lighting, and I'll talk to camera, and I'll talk couples through how I work and stuff. And I've never done it. And every time I come close to doing it, I just chicken out and overthink it. But I have no issue putting the phone up to my face and going, this one time on honeymoon, I had really bad hemorrhoids. And I had to explain to the pharmacist in Thailand that I needed hemorrhoid cream, but there was no English, so I had to do it through mime, and it was difficult or whatever. And people would engage with that. Or I had a vasectomy, and I straight away, like post-vasectomy, was like, hey guys, guess what I just did? But people will be like, brides who have been trying to convince their partner to get a vasectomy or whatever it is, are like, thank you so much for talking about this. We love this. I'm sure I've gotten in trouble the odd time. I've only gotten in trouble once in terms of doing that kind of thing, whereas I used to, you can bleep this word out, but in Trump's first term, I did a lot of just stuff about like, I hate this guy, I really hate him, and I would just reshare things. And I do quite a few American weddings, sometimes through planners. The planner contacted me and said, the bride would like to cancel your services. And I was like, is it because of all the Trump stuff I put up? And she was like, yep. And it was no issue, it was fine. And I guess that could have stopped me. But I was like, no, I'm going to go on and talk about that now. Instagram story. And then I found the American couples that I had would often not be big fans anyway of him. And it wasn't an issue. And now it's so horrific now that I don't really go through much political stuff anymore, because it's just everywhere anyway, and I'm not really adding anything to conversation sometimes. But I do feel as well, I guess this is the third branch of this question, but that people shouldn't be afraid to talk about how they feel in terms of politics and life and what's happening out there. Not to be afraid of talking about Palestine or whatever happens to be that kind of you're scared of. So the biggest risk I've taken in terms of my career was just at the start. It was just starting. It was just going out there and saying, well, I bought the camera now. It costs loads and the lens, and I better do something with it. Maybe I can book a few jobs. And then I had to, the risk was telling myself I could do it. I could shoot weddings, because I could shoot a wedding for a friend because I know everyone. But I have to treat every wedding like that, where you maybe talk to someone for half an hour and now all of a sudden you're with them for 12 hours on this important day. And also you're in their family home and you're with their mum and you're with their dad, and you have to be personable and you have to make everyone comfortable. And that takes a little while to learn. And for me, it was just, that's something I've always kind of kept on, is that openness. And I come in with as much enthusiasm as possible. Again, depending on the wedding, I have to calibrate my energy depending on the room, obviously. But I can't let anything really get to me kind of on the day as well. There can be lots of stressful things, and my kind of face, my natural face on a wedding, which isn't the same face at home, is kind of this like slight smile. Sometimes I imagine myself biting a pencil, because if you bite a pencil, it's the same, you use the same muscles as smiling, and it releases endorphins into your brain, which is pleasant. So it's that thing of, you want that to be your kind of resting happy face, and then everything is great, everything's going to be fine. So the risk was just overcoming social anxiety. The risk was a bit of self-confidence, which I didn't have in younger years, which kind of came in maturity, and then obviously built as everything tended to go great. And there was weddings in the first couple of years where things didn't always go great, and some of it was beyond my control, but you kind of learn, your toolkit gets bigger and bigger as you go on, and you get to a point then where it's like, I feel like I have seen pretty much everything at a wedding, including death at a wedding, which we won't go into, but pretty much everything you can see at a wedding I've seen, and it's always fine, on the day. So when people look at my work from years to now, I suppose I'm thinking two things. I'm thinking couples, first of all, like the client, which I don't even like to use that word, but I hope they see joy, but I hope they see not manufactured joy. I think, again, like years go on, I don't think they're going to care about the confetti and the sparklers, but they will care about the people holding the sparklers who are just enjoying the sparklers. And it's really important to me that there's connection with the couple, but also connection with the people that they're with, and that there's time built into the day, that it's not just couple stuff, that they have time to actually just enjoy each other and their friends and family. And I hope that it'll be a really meaningful document of the day that will just bring this like massive smiles and tears and everything else. And then in terms of, like, I don't try not to think about what other photographers think or what other people outside those people think, but I suppose I just hope those people will think that, oh, that's great crack, that looks like a fucking brilliant job. Like, what fun. Look how much fun people have, and oh, that's epic, you got to go here. Like, I'm going to Mexico City, I just booked the wedding yesterday, I'm going to Mexico City in March, and that's going to be unbelievable. And I've been to Italy for weddings, and I've been to Vegas for wedding conferences, and it's just, you get to do all this kind of fun stuff, like, and it's a fun job once you have the right people and the right attitude and everything else. So I just hope people think it was good crack.